Hey, hi, hello, all you book people. My name is Danielle. I am the person behind this channel who loves to talk about all things books, writing, stories, just all the things. And I'm just so excited to be here with you today. As I mentioned in my September reading wrap-up, which I will link in the cards and in the description below, that I would be doing a ARC reading wrap-up review video, and that is what this is. If you clicked on the title, you probably already know that, so welcome. The reason I am doing a specific ARC review is because I don't star review all of my books. I tend to only give star reviews to debut authors or ARC reviews because that is needed for a book that hasn't been published yet, and I tend to stay away from giving star reviews from super well-known authors or books that have so much visibility already. I really want reviews to help readers know what they're getting into or what other people are looking at. And I really think this is because sometimes I read a book knowing I'm not going to like it, and I don't think that's fair to rate it lowly. However, I do think there is a point to low star reviews. I use low star reviews to help figure out my own reading. There have been several books that, because it had a low star review and the person gave why they gave it a low star review, I still read the book. So that is something I will still try to do. With my books, I always try and say who I think this book would be for. So even if I personally rated it low, book reviews are so subjective. So I always advise read at your own risk, but I'm still going to be giving my ARC reviews that I have been reading over the last about 6 weeks. Now today I'm going to be reviewing 5 different ARCs that I received. 3 of them were audio ARCs, 2 of which were Kindle ARCs. I will be doing the audio ARCs first, and the other 2 I will be doing the e-ARCs last. Those are also the 2 that were most anticipated. I was super excited to get ARCs of, and are authors that I already love. So I will leave those, best for last, and kind of dive into the audio ARCs that I received and kind of what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, and where I would rate them with my own stars. Now, if you can see, I'm not really sure if it's in the picture at this point, but I do have my iPad right here. I think I'm actually going to pull it forward a little bit so I can see it. The reason I have my iPad is because I would actually love to give you the book summary. That way, if it's something that interests you, you can go straight to Libby, straight to your favorite indie bookseller, or wherever you go, and just go ahead and get it. You don't have to go read the back of the book. And if it's something that seems interesting to you, you can just go ahead and grab it, because a lot of these, I do think if the premise is something you enjoy, you should go get it. That, whatever I say in this video, super subjective. I stand by my reviews and how I feel about them, but that doesn't mean you're going to feel the same way. So this is just kind of a baseline to give you a peek at kind of my own thoughts in books that have either already been published because I read them more recently, or books that will be coming, I think, as late as end of January. To kick us off, we have Before We Were Us by Denise Hunter. I mentioned this in my September reading wrap-up. The book summary says, "She can't remember, he can't forget. 7 months ago, after graduating with a hospitality degree, city girl Lauren Wentworth traveled to rural New Hampshire to become a temporary manager of Pine Haven Lodges, a rustic family-owned resort. What started as just a springboard to her dream job became so much more when she fell in love with the owner's son, Jonah, the Landry family, and her simple but rewarding position at the resort. Now she's reaching toward a different kind of future than she imagined for herself, and happier than she's ever been. But then she falls from a ladder. When Lauren wakes up at the hospital, she only recalls the first couple of months at the resort. She remembers her adversarial relationship with Jonah and her major crush on small-town Dr. Carson, who also has big city ambitions, but is unfortunately taken. However, according to everyone around her, she is now madly in love with Jonah and has forfeited the dream job awaiting her in Boston. It seems impossible to believe she could have made such drastic changes in a matter of months. Jonah is heartbreaking at her memory loss and determined to help Lauren remember the deep feelings they developed for each other. But Lauren isn't sure she wants to remember falling in love with someone she doesn't even like, or giving up her dream career for a rustic resort in Podunk, New Hampshire, especially when Dr. Carson is now available." So this is just a sweet little romance, and I rated this 3.75, rounded up to 4 stars, especially on Goodreads because they don't have the partial star option. It was super cute, very sweet, but if you're like me and you read or listened, because I just read it to you, that book description, you can pretty much guess what happens, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's cute. You still get to go with them on a journey. This would definitely be for a reader who wants a sweet romance, but doesn't really want a big surprise. They don't really want the contention. Like, you feel that contention in the book, but you know that things will probably work out because it's a sweet romance. And I loved the setting. I think the New England area is beautiful. I love it when an author can actually capture it, and I feel like Denise Hunter did a pretty good job of that. Even though like some of the other aspects I didn't love as much. I will put a little bit of a note. It does have religious aspects in it. This is more of, I believe, a Christian-based book. So if you're not jiving with that, not for you, totally fine. It's pretty minimal. This book was published on September 10th, and I read it pretty early in September, and I got it pretty close to the publication date. Book number 2, we have a little bit of a pivot in genre. This is more of a comedy thriller type book. This is The Serial Killer Guide to San Francisco by Michelle Chouinard. I think that's how you say her name. I apologize if it's not. I rated this a 3.5, rounded up to 4 on Goodreads, and I'm gonna go ahead and read the book description for you. In this clever mystery, The Serial Killer Guide to San Francisco, the granddaughter of the serial killer shows readers another side of the beloved city. Welcome to San Francisco, a city with killer charm. The chill of San Francisco summer can be deadly. No one knows this better than Capri Sanzio, who makes her living giving serial killer tours of the city. Capri has been interested in the topic since she was a kid, when she discovered she's the granddaughter of the serial killer William Overkill Bill Sanzio. She's always believed in his innocence, though she's never taken the leap to fully dive into the case. But now that an Overkill Bill copycat has struck in San Francisco, and Capri's former mother-in-law, Sylvia, just cut off Capri's daughter's tuition payments, needing cash, Capri wonders if this is the time to exonerate her grandfather. The case is back in the news, and the police will be looking to understand the past to catch a present-day killer. Capri could finally uncover the truth about Overkill Bill, documenting the process with a podcast and a book, and hopefully earn some money. Before Capri can get very far, the cops discover the copycat's latest, Sylvia. Capri soon finds herself at the heart of the police investigation for an entirely different reason. She and her daughter are prime suspects. So, like I mentioned, I gave this book a 3.5 stars, rounded up to 4. I will say, this is my own probably issue with it, is this book was not written for me. This was not written for my age group. It read very late, young boomer, maybe older Gen X. I am on the cusp of the Gen Z millennial age, and so it definitely had, I don't know if you're as chronically online as I am, but if you're on YouTube, you might be, but the whole like almond mom energy and just some of that vibe of like talking about cheat days. And so honestly, that was probably my biggest issue with this book, was how it was not written for me and for my age group. And so that's my own problem. However, if you can remove yourself from that and are totally fine with that, and that's your sense of humor, I think you'd actually enjoy this book. I didn't even read the description when I requested this, which I don't recommend if you're requesting anecdotally. I loved the title. The Serial Killer Guide to San Francisco. What a great title. That's so fun. And I will say the mystery element was good. Another kind of point I took away from it, for me personally, is I felt like she was trying really hard to have all this like these things in it, and the way they did exposition was really interesting because it was like a team of podcast people that she worked for. It mentioned in the description, and they do exposition in a way that they're kind of like teaching each other about different aspects that is relevant to what they're doing. So I found it a very interesting way to do exposition. The title hooked me, so if the title hooks you and then the synopsis like sounds interesting and you can kind of deal with the Gen X humor, go for it. I thought the narration was really well done. This was another one of my audios. Yeah, it was just a really easy listen. It was a good book. I don't think it was the book for me, but it was a solid mystery. And it was like quirky and funny and like not hard and super depressing that some mysteries can get. There's some hard moments, but overall it's pretty, cut and dry. This book was published on September 24th. I read it very beginning of the month of September. If you're interested, maybe check it out at your library. So that is my review for The Serial Killer Guide to San Francisco. All right, and then the last of my audio arcs that I received is the one that I kind of liked the least, How to Help a Hungry Werewolf by Charlotte Stein. I'm going to read the book description and kind of just dive in. The book description actually is what grabbed me. So I had, I think, different expectations going into this book, but I'll go ahead and read that for you. What we do in the shadows with small town feels of Gilmore Girls in a swoon-worthy romance that will leave readers delightfully cozy and hungry for more. When Cassandra Camberwell returns to her hometown of Hollow Brook to clear out her late grandmother's ramshackle old house, the last thing she expects is Seth Brubaker on her doorstep. Her former best friend was responsible for the worst moment of her high school life, and she can't imagine he wants to do anything but torment her all over again. Until she unearths a real reason this annoyingly gorgeous beast of a man keeps hanging around. He's an actual werewolf who's certain she's the witch that will ease his suffering. But Cassie just isn't sure if she can trust him again, so Seth offers a pact. He'll teach her all about her undiscovered magic, and she will brew the potions he needs. No feelings, no funny business, just a witch and a werewolf striking a deal. Totally doable. Until they get hit with a do-or-die mating bond, and now the heat is rising. In fights with former bullies and encounters with talking raccoons, they just have to not give in. Unless giving in just might be the very thing they knew they always wanted. Da-da-da. Okay, I have to admit I DNF'd this. Yeah, I did not finish this book. I did review it because I did over 70% of the book, but I DNF'd it. And for me to get to 70% of the book, I just really wanted to finish it. I could not. I struggled so bad to try and finish this that I just DNF'd it. I felt like I got enough of the vibe that I felt like I was able to review it. If I read under 50%, I usually won't leave a review, but if I read over that, I will, because I feel like I've gotten enough of the author's style for the book if I've gotten to that point. I gave this 2.5 stars just because there was a lot of miscommunication. I really don't like that trope, and especially when it's so overdone that I felt like it was done in this. There was just super simple things that I feel like if they just talked in the beginning, it would have been so much easier. And there's also a level, and I feel like the description kind of gives the vibe of she's got to do potions for him. The fact that she goes from oh my god, I don't know, I have these powers, to oh my god, I'm so amazing, I can do all these things, and I'm just super gifted without any training. I like my magic to be more, I don't know, have more oomph, have more struggle. I'm learning how to do this. This isn't just innate within me. And I think there's a place for that. And some people really like that. So if that's more your vibe, amazing. I love that for you. I thought that the supernatural system was just odd. It just wasn't for me. I was not the audience for this. It just wasn't. But if you like the entirety of that description and you're oh my god, I just want this spicy romance, because it did get very spicy towards the end. That's just, literally, I don't feel like that's a spoiler. Go for it. Hardcore go for it. If you liked Bride and you're okay with a little bit cheesier and any of that, go for it. That's great. I thought it was going to be more of What We Do in the Shadows paired with Gilmore Girls. I don't really think those are great comps personally. What We Do in the I don't know. Maybe they are. But I feel like it's that, but in a very cheesy, supernatural kind of way. So, I don't know if I really explained how I felt about that book very well, but I did, and I'm just going to move past it because I just didn't have a good time with that one. So, from this point on, we're only going to have books that I loved. So, here we go. All right, my last 2 books were both e-arcs. I read them on my Kindle. They were great, so I didn't have the narration. So if you're wanting the audio feedback, I don't really have any of that for you. So I'm going to kick it off with No Place Left to Hide by Megan Lally. This is a awesome, crazy thriller. Oh my god, it was amazing. Loved it. 5 stars. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. I'm going to go ahead and read you the book description, and it is: Some secrets just won't stay hidden in this twisty new thriller from New York Times and US Today bestselling author Megan Lally. To Brooke, image is everything. She works hard to maintain perfect grades, perfect looks, and a perfect life, especially after the incident that threatened it all. Getting into her dream university puts her that much closer to a fresh start. How can she say no to celebrating with all her classmates? Hanging out with her crush by the bonfire is the perfect way to end the night. Except it isn't the end. An old truck starts aggressively tailing Brooke and her best friend on the isolated road toward home. Someone thinks that they know the truth about the incident, and they won't stop until it's all out in the open. This terrifying drive is about to bring out Brooke's worst fears if she survives it. As I was reading that, I'm on Goodreads, like, reading this stuff in, like, my reviews, so I can keep myself, the, like, first line of someone's reviews. I'm torn between love and hate feelings for this heart-throbbing thriller. Oh my god, if that doesn't, like, perfectly describe it. It is, it gives me the vibes of when I read Gone Girl, and you just didn't know what to believe. And I literally had to sit with my review for that book for a while because I didn't know if I hated it or really loved it. And although I didn't feel that necessarily for this because I knew I loved it from the beginning, that's almost the vibe. It just, oh my gosh, I read her debut earlier this year, That's Not My Name. Also recommend that one. So good. And that was a one-sitting read. I sat down and destroyed that book. It was great. I think I might have still been pregnant, and that's why I was able to do that. Not 100% sure on that, but regardless, or maybe it was last year. I don't know. And I wish I was able to read this book in one sitting. The pace was so high in the best way possible. The first couple of chapters were a little slower, but it was like you had to kind of build up to it, and there was that, like, mystery element. Oh man, it was just so good. If you love thrillers, I'm so sorry that this isn't out until January, but if you are a person who likes to request arcs, request this arc because you just need to read it. I'm gonna also get it for my shelves because I loved it so much. It was so good. I got to the point where I couldn't read it in one sitting because, you know, a baby, and we were going to a wedding. And I had to bring my Kindle with me so that I could finish it on the way and on the way back from the wedding. And we're, like, almost back from the wedding. I'm like, okay, I've got to finish this because I'm about to go home to my baby, which I'm very excited to see her. But I was just like, I need to get to the end of this book. It is getting published on, where is it at? It's getting published January 7th of 2025. Pre-order it. The next 2 books, just pre-order it. Don't even, like, if you like thrillers, you like young adult thrillers, pre-order the book. It's great. And go read her other book. The other book is That's Not My Name. Also fantastic. Just so good. Awesome. Okay. Last but certainly not least is Out of the Woods by Bonam-Young. She is an incredible author. This will be her first book that is traditionally published from the beginning. She is an author that had some books she indie published, and then she got picked up by an agent in Dell Romance, and they traditionally published Next of Kin, Next to You, and Out on a Limb. Out on a Limb is the one that people kind of, I feel like, found her with, which is such a shame because all of her books are great. And I swear every time I read one of her books, I'm like, this is my new favorite. It's great. Out on a Limb was great because I was reading it right after I found out. I was reading the arc of it right after I found out I was pregnant. And it was just so sweet because it's a pregnancy book. If you hate the pregnancy trope, you should read Out on a Limb and it will change your mind forever. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the book description for this one. High school sweethearts Sarah and Caleb Lonewood have always been a sure thing. For the past 17 years, they have had each other's backs through all of life's ups and downs, achievements, losses, stages, and phases. But Sarah has begun to wonder, who is she without her other half? When she decides to take on a project of her own, a fundraising gala in memoriam of her late mother, Sarah wants nothing more than to prove to herself and to everyone else that she doesn't need Caleb's help to succeed. She's still her mother's daughter, after all, independent and capable. That is until the event fails and Caleb uninvitedly steps in to save the day. The rift that follows unearths a decade of grievances between them, and doubts begin to grow. Are they truly the same people they were when they got married at 19? Are they supposed to be? In a desperate attempt to fix what they fear is near breaking, Sarah and Caleb make the spontaneous decision to join a grueling hiking trip intended to guide the couples through rough patches. What follows is a life-affirming comedy of errors as two nature-averse people fight their way out of the woods in order to find their way back to their roots. Oh, if that doesn't just immediately hit you, this book, man, 5 stars, no notes, except for I'm about to talk about all of my feelings. It was the perfect book for me in this season, too. That's what's wild for me, is she just knows what's going on in my own life, and her books come out in a very similar fashion. She's an auto-buy author for me anyway. I met her before her books got published, and, like, on the internet. We're not, like, BFFs. We're just, like, casual friends on the internet, and it has been so cool to see her explode. But she's an auto-buy author for a reason. She's not just, like, someone I know loosely that I want to support. Like, her writing is so good. This one, I got married pretty young, not 19, but young enough. I've been married 6 years at this point, and we got married before both of our brains were developed. And there is something so sweet and hard in the best way of marrying the person you know you're supposed to be with, but then growing up too with each other. And it's hard but good, and it's so special. And I feel like she captured that on this page of, we're growing and you need to communicate and you need to be able to talk to your partner. This doesn't mean like, oh, you got married, but even if like you're just in a relationship with someone for a really long time, like, people are ever evolving, and it captures it in such a beautiful way. And all the side characters, like, she had a pretty good cast of side characters in this book, and I liked all of them for different reasons, and she captured their personalities in such a way that they were distinct. I would read an own book about literally any of these characters, and I wish she wasn't done in this world of Out on a Limb and Out of the Woods. It was so good. I really recommend pre-ordering it. It does come out January 28th, 2025, which, such a bummer, you know? You gotta wait so long. But pre-order it, and it's a beautiful gift for you in the new year. And if you buy it now, it's like, oh my gosh, I got a book later. Girl math, right? It's just really good. So recommend that. And while you're waiting for the book, get her other books. She's got Next of Kin, Next to You, and then Out on a Limb. I actually have all of them right here. These are her indie, when they were indie published, and then these are the traditionally published. Very excited to add Out of the Woods right next to that guy. But highly recommend it. Those are my ARC reviews for this video. I'm really excited to continue to share ARC reviews as long as I keep getting approved in NetGalley and get any galleys from publishers. They have been such a joy to be able to read and to be able to support authors in the pre-order phase and just the newly published phase. So if you are interested in any of these books, if any of them spoke to you, or you were like, I don't necessarily agree with your take on X, I'd love to hear it. So go ahead and drop a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could give it a like, that'd be amazing, and subscribe, because I'm going to be posting videos every Thursday, I hope. That's the goal anyway. And next week I am going to be chatting about the comparison between Twilight the book, Twilight the movie, because it is Hoa Hoa season. That's what my husband says, and I've already said that before in another video, and I will say it again as I start the next video. So come along for the ride. I'd love to have you, and I will see you next week.